and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Laura, can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Boff.
Here.
Councilmember Stimmel.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Councilmember Strobehn.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cerveny.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to the consent agenda. If there's no requests for any items to be removed, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Council and staff reports are next. Who's first up? All right. Councilmember Boff.
I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Councilmember Stimmel.
Well, it's too bad Matt's not here. I just wanted to say thank you. I reported a water leak on Saturday at the park, and I was back there Monday, and it was already fixed. I don't know when they did it, but awesome job.
Magic. Great team. And you were a busy man this past weekend, too.
Yeah, it was a little busy.
Yeah. Good job. Councilmember Williams.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilmember Strobehn.
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Councilmember Cerveny has nothing either. All right, we'll move into staff reports. And the first up is community development.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Cerveny, Council. Good to be with you this evening. I'm just going to walk through the Community Development Staff Report for the month of June 2019. In commercial development, staff have received building permit plans for the new 8,800 square foot two-story office retail building in the Heritage Center right across the street here. This building is known as Building B. It's the third and final phase in the Heritage Center complex. And I believe as of Friday, we had comments back on the review from Clark County Fire and Rescue and from City of Ridgefield, who does our building inspection and plans review. And so that is proceeding forward very soon.
Right.
Should see some action there. On the Center Middle School, the engineering plan review is recently completed, and comments were submitted to the architect. I have spoken with Superintendent Dave Holmes regarding the project, and they're working with the State Department of Ecology and the Army Corps of Engineers on a couple of outstanding issues, and they're hoping to get going on the middle school here real soon. Minute Management, we held a pre-application conference on June 11th, 2019 for a commercial development up at the junction where the Shell station currently sits, and this is for a hotel, retail building, convenience store, gas station, and drive-through restaurant is what they're proposing on that property.
Great.
On the housing side, Riverside Estates, this report I'm giving is a little bit dated. We were going to consider the development agreement and incorporated post-decision review this evening, but that has been postponed to the July 10th meeting where we'll conduct a public hearing. And it is anticipated that the Phase 1 final plat will be approved shortly after the development agreement is approved. The plat comments have been submitted back to the applicant, and city staff are currently reviewing Phase 2, the Phase 2 final plat application. The third phase of that project, we held a pre-application conference May 14th, and this is for the multifamily component of the project. On the Holly subdivision, there was a preliminary plat public hearing conducted by Joe Turner, our hearings examiner, on Thursday, June 13th, 2019. I know that a number of you, if not all of you, have received some comments from surrounding residents And I know City Attorney Dan Kearns sent some instruction out about how the process works with approval of preliminary plats. And if the matter comes before council, that would be as a quasi-judicial proceeding, which is a rare treat, I guess, for city council members to put on that quasi-judicial hat. And so just give those comments some from our city attorney some due consideration as you consider how you might have some contact with either proponents or opponents of the project, should it come before council. Stevens Hillside Farm, the property owners met with staff on May 28th, 2019 to discuss their project status. A few issues there that we're working to resolve with respect to the parks aspect, some engineering standards regarding lighting, and the transportation component of that project. Country Hills Estates, we had a pre-application conference on May 14th, and this was to determine the process for establishing a preliminary plat on that project. Currently, it's platted under condo laws, and so just kind of a quick overview of that project. It's a mobile home park, and where the buildings, not necessarily the residences, but where the outbuildings, garages, and some of the outbuildings sit on each one of those lots. The lot lines go through some of those structures, and so the plat process will correct that. It'll account for the setbacks and resolve some issues they have up there for the property owners. Have 3 annexations that are expected to come before council in July. Bowling Creek, the Schlentz property, and the Connor Harrison properties. And so all of those have submitted 60% petition to annex, and so they're the sizes of those respectively. Bowling Creek is a 17-acre parcel. That's school district property. The Schlentz property is a 5-acre parcel, and the Connor Harrison site is a 38.01 acre property. Planning Commission, they met June 11th to work on the outdoor lighting standards, and we'll meet again in July to finalize their proposal to council on outdoor lighting standards. They'll also be discussing the critical areas ordinance update in July. On economic development, city staff have been in contact with the Washington State Department of Commerce regarding the $1.5 million state appropriation the city received for this upcoming biennium for the Breezy Creek culvert replacement East 4th Street widening project. On the TDS building, the completion of the pre-construction scope of work by the architect is pending an appropriation, which will be discussed by my colleague, Mr. Bailey, here as part of budget amendments. We've been in consultation with the school district as a potential tenant in the TDS building on the lower level. So talking about the tenant improvements that they would need. On June 4th, Mayor Thornton and I participated in a tour of some areas of Washington County and Oregon, Hillsborough, Beaverton area, as part of the City of Ridgefield-led Discovery Corridor Adaptive Infrastructure Needs Analysis. And this is funded through a WashDOT grant and is looking at transportation capacity issues in the I-5 corridor between Salmon Creek and Little Center Junction, as well as utility capacity and other land use issues. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Good report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very thorough. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, next we have our finance report. That would be presented by Finance Manager Dustin Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. In front of you, I have the May Finance Staff Report. I have 3 specific items I wanted to walk through. The first is the stormwater utility fee. As you all know, the Council approved implementation of the stormwater utility fee at the May 8th, 2019 meeting. Staff included an informational mailer that went out to all residents in June, so hopefully most of you received that in your sewer bill. We've also made a point of discussing the new fee with citizens when they conduct business with the city with the information or mailer at hand. It's been fairly well received. As I've mentioned before, the stormwater utility fee will appear in the utility bill for Live Center residents beginning in July. Staff are working diligently to add new accounts, revise accounts, validate mailing addresses for all properties in the city of Live Center. And the reason this is taking quite a bit of work is in the table you see below, we have 1,105 active accounts. So those are our properties that currently receive a sewer bill. 417 are listed as tax lots without accounts. So those are all properties that don't currently receive a sewer bill. This means that we have to validate the owner of the property, the mailing address, all those kind of things. So it's taking quite a bit of work, but we're still on schedule to have that fee in the July bill. The next item is a little bit more difficult to talk about, the annual state auditor's reports. I've talked to the council a few times about some of the issues we've been finding and some of the challenges with the SAO reports. Just some background, the finance department staff are working with Teresa Johnson CPA and her staff to address a volume of issues in the general ledger. Originally, Teresa Johnson was engaged by the city to assist training of new staff, because we do have a new staff member. The focus was to be the general ledger management, cash-based accounting, and annual report requirements. But once collaboration began, we quickly realized there was a lot of issues in our financial system that we needed to address. That was before the SAO reports were filed, but then we also realized we needed to make revisions to the 2017 reports as well. And in the end, the financial system needed to be updated for the years 2007 to 2018. So that's 11 years of accounting work that we had to clean up. I've pulled out in this bullet list below some of the more substantive issues. First, pension, compensated absence, liability calculations were incorrect. AWC Risk Management Services Agency financial statement note disclosures, adopted budget disclosures, bank reconciliations for the fiscal year of 2018. Deposits had not been cleared in the financial system for the years 2007 to 2018. Checks had not been cleared in the system for 2007 to 2018. 2017 special revenue bond debt was not in the Schedule 9 and corrected and required corrected ending balance on the bond disclosures. Real estate excise tax, part type 1 and 2, park impact fees, traffic impact fees were commingled and improperly recorded in the accounting system for 2015 to 2018. The capital projects fund was commingled with other revenue and cash, which did not allow for accounting the proper use of restricted funds. Motor vehicle fuel tax was being commingled with other funds, which meant it didn't align with RCW 47.24.040. There was a misclassification of debt related to the sewer projects. 2017 federal grant amounts were not shared on the schedule of expenditures for federal awards, but instead were included in state financial assistance. There was inadequate accounting of grants and billing requests, and there were also missing journal entries and misclassification of expenditures across the city accounts. So as you could imagine, this required a lot of work between city staff and Teresa Johnson staff. That meant that we had to ask for a extension with the state auditor. So they extended our due date to June 28, 2019. And just as another piece of information, there is not going to be any punitive action against the city because of all these issues. Most of these years were already audited, so we're okay in that regard. We just need to clean up the accounting system. Those years that had not been audited yet, we still have an opportunity to make adjustments. So we're hoping that all this cleanup is going to result in a positive audit for the next schedule cycle. Moving on to card room revenue, I provided a table here of the card room revenue to date, and you can see as of now, Laura, can you scroll down just a little bit more? We're at $509,508 for the year, And you can also note the May revenue, we actually had a slightly higher month than the previous year. And that is my finance staff report. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have some.
Okay.
So you said there was no punitive damages that are going to be against the city for all of that.
That is correct.
What has been the total amount of work or cost to us to go through all this?
Well, the contract with Teresa Johnson, we did have to bump up the not to exceed amount. As of right now, we're looking at probably about $15,000 to $20,000 in consultant work. It's hard to quantify the dollar amount for city staff, but I can say that all of us in this office have spent a lot of time trying to clean this stuff up, which is taken away from other work, but we're doing the best we can.
And then, so you said that this is only to a certain amount of time, that there is no punitive damages that are going to be to the city or anything, and we have time to go back to fix some of the stuff that's still being reported. Are you finding a lot of errors in the stuff that you can go back to fix?
Yes, we had to revise quite a bit in the 2017 submission. We did not revise the 16 submission.
Okay. And are there any costs coming out of that?
No.
Is this just pure reports?
Yes, purely reports, yes.
And then on the card rooms, how far are we down? I didn't get to see that. Sorry, Dustin.
So if you look at the second quarter, you can see we're down $97,800. We're pretty close to projections for the year, although it is substantially less than last year.
All right. I'm just thinking of budget stuff. That's all.
I figured you were.
Yeah, you know me.
Any more questions? I would like to extend our appreciation and the dedication that you and the entire staff of the commitment to doing the cleanup and all of the additional tasks that come for new employees can be startling, and we certainly appreciate the extra effort and sticking with it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And I do have to note, Laura Martin has done a lot of work in
Yes.
this area, so she's sitting at the end of the bench. So
Thanks to both of you.
thank
We
you very much.
appreciate everything all of you have done. Next up is citizens' public comment. And this is the time that's allotted for citizens to make your public comments on items that are not on the agenda. If you have a comment, please step up to the podium, state your name and your address, and your comments are limited to 3 minutes. And the council won't be interacting with you, but they will be directing any activities that need addressed to the appropriate staff. So welcome, and come on up.
I'm ready if you are. Oops. Okay. Caught me off guard there. I couldn't see the screen. You take a breath. My name's Chris Loken, live at 708 East 15th Circle, and I've come for the second time here to discuss fireworks. Once, a couple meetings ago, I was here. Geez, now I'm getting all nervous. Okay.
We're friendly.
I know, he just caught me off guard and I shouldn't have jumped up maybe first. Okay, here we go. I remember a joyful mood, conversation and laughter during the mild, safe and sane fireworks experiences of my youth. I have noticed little of this joyful mood, conversation and laughter during the bombastic fireworks events of the center. I perceive them more as a violent venting session of dark energy. Today, I recognize that there are many things in life to be passionate about and frustrated by. Some of them
by the sixth mass extinction, by climate change, by pesticides destroying the world in our lifetime, by the systematic dismantling of our nation's finest institutions, perpetuated by corporate executives and their puppet Republican and Democrat politicians, i.e., the dismantling of our once world-leading public education system by today's corporate executives routinely setting their compensation packages hundreds, even thousands of times greater than that of their average employees' compensation packages, by the same executives avoiding nearly all taxation through both legalized and illegal means, clinging to loud and flying fireworks does not strike me as an issue worthy of such passion. To me, the intensity of the center fireworks events sounds and feels much like a war zone. Are the wars that we fight elsewhere not enough? Are some eager to experience that energy in our home communities as well? I'm not. Many are not. Throughout my life, I've had many opportunities to listen to people pronouncing and presuming their personal rights. I do not think that laws are intended to be a guide to the minutiae of human decency. I expect a reasonable person to be able to recognize that significant disturbance of the peace, destruction of property, and destruction of wildlife and wilderness is unreasonable.
Mr. Loken, are you about done? Or 3 minutes or?
3 minutes? Okay. I would say that such actions are rather glaring trappings of anarchy. I realize that there are some who have romantic notions of anarchy. In the best case scenario, I think that anarchy may be amusing for a short while, but not for long. Personal rights should not be unlimited in a civil society. In a civil society, personal rights should be limited such that they never step needlessly, unreasonably, frivolously, loudly, explosively, destructively on the toes of one's neighbors, human or other. I'll leave it at that. That's enough for today. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Al Philo, 152 West 15th Street. In the public comments, no one said Happy Independence Day. Wow. You guys got to get with it. So, on behalf of myself and the American Legion, I want to wish you all a Happy Independence Day and celebrate the way of your choice. Thank you.
My fault. It was even highlighted in yellow.
Hello, council members. Happy Independence Day, first of all. My name is Joseph Plogger. I live at 837 East Fur Avenue, and I've come with some neighbors who live nearby, and we're here to address the speeding issue on that street. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but this is one of the reasons why we're here tonight. It's my son. I apologize for the noise. 9 out of 10 cars that come down our road are going 30 or more, often 35 or 40 miles an hour. And it's a safety concern for us and for other families on the street. I don't know what your typical solution to that is, whether it's more of a police presence or a speed bump or option C, but that's why we're here tonight, to present and ask for some help with that issue.
Have you contacted the police department?
Have you? John?
I'll address that in a moment, Mayor.
Okay.
So would you like to comment?
Oh, I got a few minutes. Are you done?
That's my introduction.
You're done?
Thank you, Councilmembers.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Kovney, council members, members of this wonderful city. My name is John Mueller. I live at 811 East Fir Avenue. Over approximately the last 12 months, I've noticed with my wife an increase in vehicles using excessive speed up and down the hill on Fir Avenue, between Pioneer Loop to the north and 7th Avenue on the south. We, my wife and I, have tried to speak to these offenders, trying to come up with something, letting them know, hey, you know, there's kids here. You might hurt them. It'll really mess up your life in the future if you do this. These conversations were greeted with additional excessive speed, to include honking horns. Finally, the city police had to get involved. They spoke to some of the vehicle owners. One of them was actually cited and given a restraining order to stay away from myself, my wife, and my family. So it's gotten to that level, and we're not seeing anything different. As this summer, the weather's improving, if you want to call it summer, we're seeing a lot of bikes and kids out there playing and running around. These kids, if seen, are causing vehicles to come to an extensive stop, nose down, almost to a slide. At that point, you have no control of your vehicle. These vehicles are going to get destroyed. These children's lives are going to get destroyed. I know this sounds like, oh my God, the world's ending. But in my life, it is ending. My children are out there. I have young drivers learning to drive, almost getting hit by vehicles as they're coming down the hill or going up the hill. As this is happening, at times, it's happening at all times of the day. They're not utilizing the speed humps. On 7th and Elm, those speed bumps are ignored. We're watching vehicles go over them, scrape bottom. If it's dark, you're actually seeing sparks. These vehicles and these people do not care. Until we as a city do something to stop this, it's only a matter of time until somebody's life is changed catastrophically. You folks have the opportunity to mitigate or impede this and stop it now. But if we do not stop this, it's only a matter of time before somebody is majorly injured. Mayor, I greatly appreciate your time today. Congratulations, happy Independence Day. As you can see, I'm kind of a little bit patriotic. Having served in the United States Armed Forces for almost 29 years, I'm very good at risk management. I've been able to bring troops home from overseas a few times without injury. So I know how to do it even in unpredicting areas. We have got to, in this community, stop this in the Stone Creek subdivision, especially on Elm, 7th, Fir, between 7th and Pioneer Loop. It may be continuing higher up, I don't know, but I can tell you it's happening there. Maybe one of the excuses, I'm not a complainer without a solution. One of those solutions I see is, and I cannot think of the cross street, but you have Pioneer Loop, come down the hill, put a stop sign there where there's that little cul-de-sac that makes a right as you're coming down the hill, or a left going up the hill. It's right in front of my house. I promise I will not complain or be upset if I have to stop there before I'm allowed to turn into my own driveway. My point is it's one more stop that these young men and young ladies have to make, and it just has to be done. Thank you for your time, and I greatly appreciate it. Have a wonderful Independence Day. I hope we all have a great time and are safe.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Ashton. I live at 717 East Fir. I'm not trying to be redundant, but this is really important to us. My son is 6 hours older than theirs, younger. She got luckier than me. And I live right there on the corner at that stop sign. We have a huge window in the front of our house, and there's a bus stop in front of our house. People are coming down that hill so incredibly fast and not stopping at the stop sign. I've trimmed back our trees and bushes to make it easier to see around the corner. There's a child that plays basketball in the street. Anybody who drives down 7th has seen him playing basketball in the street. And it's not just coming down either. When people are turning right off of 7th onto Fir, my husband and I pull our cars all the way up into our driveway because twice in the last year we have had cars come around the corner, spin out, and end in our driveway. I don't know what the solution is, but it is really, really important to the families that live on that street. We have babies, and we're not perfect parents. We can only do so much, but my child just learned how to open the front door. Lord forbid I forget the deadlock one day. That's my child, So it is really, really important to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've seen people run that stop sign too. And I'll turn around to follow them up the hill to just say nicely. I can't catch up to them. I live a block from there, by the way.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dennis Crane. I'm a new resident at 1205 West F Place. And I moved here from Lake Stevens up north, which is a wide open community with fireworks. Last year was a pretty good year. They only had 2 houses burned down. And everybody says, why don't you leave town if you don't like all the fireworks? Well, we do. We have to leave there for 3 days every year. So now we moved here, not checking on fireworks because I don't think it's something that's that important. Although for those 3 or 4 days, I think it really is because I am a veteran and I think everybody has a right to watch and enjoy fireworks. If they're done in an organized manner, in parts, communities, say at 10 o'clock at night when the lights are down. But I do not like fireworks in everybody's hands. I think it's crazy. Luckily, our house didn't burn down, and I hope it doesn't here because we will leave town. I've just been pre-warned that it's pretty crazy around here. And I never spoke up in Lake Stevens because there it is, it's kind of crazy. Please tell you ahead of time, don't call us because we won't come. For 3 or 4 days, and I'm talking till like 2 o'clock in the morning, every single night, it's out of control. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. Our Public Works and our Police Chief are not here this evening, but we will pass these comments on to them and get some attention to each. But I would encourage you to continue to call the police department. That establishes the record, and we'll do our best to get the information to them as well.
Appreciate it, Mayor. By the time you call and they can respond, it's over. I mean, sometimes by the time you get out your door and you realize it, you can't even get a license plate.
I understand that part, but it does show the pattern of behaviors and it helps us take things more
Our
seriously.
best solution, like for us, is if we can get like a video of people running a stop sign or the license plates of the cars that had spun out into our driveway to get them to the police department.
Sure, yeah. Any information will be helpful, but we'll also talk to the chief about police presence and any options that we have. All right, we move into presentations for this evening, and we have Pam Evans with us to present on Heritage Tree Program. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. I'm Pam Evans. I'm with the Master Gardener Program. Oh, thank you. And I'm here to present and introduce a new program that is with our Master Gardener Program. It's a project. It's on the heritage trees of Clark County. Can everybody hear me okay? No. I'll try and talk louder. That would be.
If you want, you can use it with your hand.
No, this is fine, I guess.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with this equipment. Oh, thank you. Okay. How do you? Okay, thank you. Again, I'm here to introduce a new program with the Master Gardener Program. It's called the Heritage Trees of Clark County, and I hope that the City Council will consider nominating at least some trees in the city limits to help preserve the legacy of trees that they provide. Our mission is to identify and promote awareness and appreciation of significant trees in Clark County. As the urban environment expands, as it has recently, we want to take the time, and we believe that it is important to recognize and honor these majestic trees. Next slide, thank you. Currently, no program exists to recognize heritage trees in unincorporated areas of Clark County. Our program is a recognition program. There are no legal standing arrangements. It does not have legal binding about any trees or groves of trees in public or private situations. The project is a volunteer service and is led by Erica Johnson with the WSU Extension Service. Thank you. There are two parts to our program. The first is the nomination stage, and then the second phase would be the selection. The nomination stage or phase would be based on a form being sent in to us at WSU with the Master Gardeners, and this is the criteria that we're looking for. A single tree or grove of trees. The trees must be healthy. They can be they don't have to be perfect trees. We want to make sure that they're just natural. There's no maintenance required for these trees. It's only if the person wants to maintain the tree, prune it, that type of thing, if it's on private land. If it's on public land, if the government entity wants to maintain it or take care of it, that's fine. But we're just looking for natural, huge trees that are beautiful, that need some attention or at least recognition on our website. And I'll be talking about that a little bit more. They can sit on a special site. This could even be a tree on a historic site, maybe a town marketplace or something of that nature. It can be on the county parks. We're looking into using or helping them establish some heritage trees on the larger county parks, especially in North Clark County. And we ask that, if possible, we have documented age of the tree, but that can be estimated. And it relate to, if it does relate to a historic event, that maybe we get some material on it. And we have people on our committee that are very interested in researching, county records and history of the area to document that history. Next slide, please. Please note that our program may include city tree sites. It's not just for unincorporated areas. With the City Council, we'd be glad to consider this particular tree, which is famous in La Center. This is the oak tree on 5th Street. It's a beautiful tree. It'd be a great tree to nominate, and it has the lovely circular, roundabout with old bricks there. And it's quite famous because it's right in the middle of the road. So that would be a possibility for our program. We use the Geographic Information System, GIS technology, and this is an interactive type of website that we will be putting together. Right now it's in development. The program is relatively new, but it's going to be quite exciting, and I'll explain a little bit more about how our website can be linked to the city's website if you care to have your heritage tree or more trees linked with our site. Now, basically what we do is we promote the program at local events, and then we seek nominations such as this evening for the program. Then our team visits the sites. We take photographs. We take standard tree measurements to collect data on the nominated tree or grove. Our committee then reviews the selection criteria, and then a consensus vote is taken, and then it gets posted onto the website. Now, this is a hypothetical. This is in development right now, but this is what the site would look like, and it's very similar to what Vancouver's Heritage Tree Program looks like. So here we have the green line, which is Clark County, and then this area is the city of Vancouver, and it has its own tree program, Heritage Tree. They have 25 trees on their list on the website. Ridgefield has a Heritage Tree program, and they have a nomination form on the website, and but they don't have any trees, and it's not interactive. I did not see a list of the trees. So that would be something that we could afford to provide should you care for our services. This is an example of the two types of icons we will be using, the fir tree or the evergreen tree and the deciduous. And if you click on the evergreen tree there, Laura, that should, it's not quite the right page, but this is the data that would be collected. But thank you, that's fine. So what happens is that we take the data and we put in the inches, the height, the spread, the neighborhood. It has a picture on it. And then it would have the history. It would have the structure and then history. And this one happens to be something that survived the tornado of 1972. So this is what we would be doing is you click on it, and then it goes to another page on the internet, which was skipped, but that's okay. And then that has another click, and then it would come to this. So you can see the tree in relationship to the roads. Let's go ahead to slide 7 then. This is the slide that shows information on other related programs. There are city programs, Vancouver, Ridgefield, and Le Center. You do have a copy of your municipal code available. You do have a program set up. And we just wanted to help maybe activate it and get a tree on the internet for people to actually see. The other programs are, in Portland, Oregon, and, state and national. This form here is our actual nomination form, and you have a copy of that with your handouts. And I provided copies so that, because that's a little hard to read. Next slide, please. This is information on our WSU website, our web address and path. And our point of contact, again, is Erica Johnson. She's the coordinator for the Master Gardening Program. So, thank you so much for letting me speak this evening, and I hope that gave you an overview, and this is a bit of inspiration to close with. I don't know if there's time, but I'm willing to answer any questions if you have any, and you have the time.
I think in your presentation you said you were interested in the diameter of the tree.
Yes.
But you were measuring circumference in that picture.
We have a technical expert here. Is that going to be this is Jeff, and he's with our committee. He's our tech guy. How are we going?
You can't directly measure a diameter, so you measure the circumference.
I just wanted to make sure that
and calculate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I got it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Evergreen, I'm in Yaco quite a bit. Have you seen the evergreen in their park?
I have. I live outside of the center, and yes, we have a person on our team that's very interested in that area.
That's a big tree.
He's going to be up there, I think, pretty soon. We have a meeting on Friday, and I'm focusing on the La Center area, but I think he wants to go up north, Clark County, to help out.
There's a
up
big
there.
tree in Yaco.
Thank you very much. Leeds would love to have it. I do have contact cards. If anybody has a tree in mind, or just go to our website and connect with Erica. And I'm sorry about the slideshow hiccup. I wasn't familiar with what was going on.
I just had a quick question. So
Sure.
just to understand, so the point, because we got to meet at the town hall. too.
Yes,
So-
uh-huh.
So the point of this is for us to look around and nominate trees right now. That's kind of the action, the takeaway message, and then have the centers support that on their website. Is that kind of the twofold thing? Or?
Well, actually, you can nominate it.
And the other part's separate, like.
Yes, so if you nominate a tree in the city, it should go through the city structure. If you nominate a tree out out driving around, that's fine too.
Okay.
But that would be given directly to us, and that's a good question. Thank you for asking that. We're focused on the unincorporated parts of Clark County, but we're trying to connect with some of the smaller towns and help, emphasize their beautiful trees in town. And I just couldn't resist that elm tree there, so I thought I'd propose that. So. And I'll be glad to coordinate between the city, if I have a point of contact, and help that communication between the Master Gardener program and the city. So, thank you. For any more questions? Or
There's also nomination forms that I attached to most of the agendas, but if you didn't get one, there's extra copies over there. And then it's also online on the links.
Yes, and I have more of the nomination form in this handout in case anybody wants to see me after the meeting. Oh, thank you so much for allowing me to do this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate your time. And happy Independence Day.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to item number 8, ordinance number 2019-13, Amendment 1 to 2019 adopted budget. Finance Manager once again.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. The City of La Center Council approved Ordinance 2018-17 on November 28th, 2018, adopting the City of La Center budget for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019. There have been several changes to the city operations, unanticipated expenses, and changes in revenue projections. Laura, if you could click over to the ordinance and go to the table for me, please. This amendment provides appropriation revisions that are needed to meet certain necessary expenditures to be incurred in the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019, which were not and could not reasonably be foreseen at the time of adoption of the 2019 budget. So these revisions include increases in expenditures in the Finance Department, the Police Department, and Community Development, increased revenues in excise tax, license and permits, and fines and fees, increase in expenditures for the improvement of the new City Hall building, and reduced operating supplies across city departments. And at the presentation at the last council meeting, I went into details. If you have more questions about those details, I'm happy to answer them in just a moment. Overall, this budget amendment reduces the city's budget deficit for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2019 by $22,496. Staff is recommending that the City Council approve Ordinance 2019-13, adopting Amendment 1 to the adopted budget for the City of La Center for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018, or 2019. Are there any questions?
Oh, yeah. Hey,
I'm shocked you have questions.
How are you? It's finances, man.
I'm actually surprised you didn't come to questions earlier.
Yeah, well, Just keeping my mouth shut for a few. Yes, I can do that every once in a while.
I have no comment, Councilmember.
Can you scroll back up to where it was given the breakdown, please?
The table?
Yeah, please. So before we go into a vote and discussion and such, last year during the budget process, it was my first one with you guys, and some of my questions were to people that were presenting. You weren't here at that time, Dustin. I think you were sitting in, but I think it was the...
That was like my second week on the job.
Right. And, some of the things I brought up, because in my own company, when we have constraints and things are real tight and we have to batten down the hatches, instead of having 10 staplers across everybody's desk, we have one, and we share them all. And I noticed in the study or the work session that we had before the last meeting, that you guys came across and were able to reduce some of these expenditures in office supplies and such like that. So, and it was quite a big amount, which kind of led me to believe that really when I asked that question in November, that it wasn't taken serious and that we didn't look into those deep enough, enough that we can see a huge adjustment at that point in time that you brought to your department. And that kind of bothers me. So when we're asking for these different adjustments in these budgets, are we really doing our due diligence? And is this how we would actually manage our own households? A lawnmower that we purchased at the last meeting that, I was opposed, and I have no problem saying it, because we could have held off another year before having to spend $25,000 on it. When this is a difference of 18 grand or something like that, we also have $15,000 to $20,000 just in going back and through our audits just for reporting purposes for outside consultation. We have, not to mention labor hours and Laura and Dustin and the entire staff going back through so that we can't even calculate. We have $97,000 difference in the card room revenue. We're not on a good path here. This is a bad trajectory, and this is irresponsible on our part as far as manage it, in my opinion. And I think we really need to look at this in a more of a magnifying lens to make sure this is something that we need to do and that we have to do before we just go ahead and say aye, and pass. So
I can address a few of those,
okay,
if you don't mind. As you mentioned, I was not quite working here when the budget for this year was adopted or developed. In preparing this budget amendment, we considered a couple different things. One was the revised purchasing policy that the council approved and put into place earlier this year. That's part of where we're seeing this drastic reduction in operating expenses. And when the mayor and I were talking about that, we were talking about a bit of a tightening of the belt kind of attitude towards expenditures. Department heads have been spending quite a bit of time reviewing those requested expenditures, seeing if they're actually needed expenses. One thing we've put into place is volume purchasing, finding state contracts to leverage. Those kind of things have really helped us bring down those numbers quite a bit. That is part of what's represented in this budget amendment with the reduction in the deficit. There's many things we can't quite address at this point, but moving forward, the mayor and I have talked about implementing a zero-based budgeting model for next year, in which we'll take a really hard look, reduce it it's essentially reducing every departmental budget to zero and starting from that point. So this week on Thursday, we have our first session with the Budget Advisory Committee where we talk about one of those zero-based budgets that we put together for the wastewater treatment plant. So although you don't see a lot of that work in this budget amendment, you're going to see it in the next budget cycle. That's something I'm committed to, and the mayor is as well.
And I totally believe what you're saying there, Dustin, just because I see what you've done just in the short amount of time you've been in that office. One of the things that bothered me that we missed out on for that budget process for last year was CRESA. I don't know if you guys know how important CRESA actually is to the county and the cities, but it's extremely disturbing that we would miss that, or our budget committee would miss that.
So the police chief and I actually spent quite a bit of time on that CRESA issue, and we found out what actually happened was during the budget cycle last year, CRESA put out a revised billing model, and that's what was included in that budget adoption. Since then, I'm not sure what happened, but they've reverted back to the original budgeting model, which increased our expenses by the amount that you see here. So it was really unexpected, and we're trying to determine why Cressa made that change. We'd much rather go back to their model that was less expensive for the city, but we kind of don't have a whole lot of control over that.
I've said what I have to say on that. I appreciate it, Dustin.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Comments?
I think we need to write more tickets.
Pardon?
We don't make any money on it.
Put all the police officers
Hold
right
on,
on first.
hold on.
We got it.
Hold on.
I would like to make one comment though. We've got to see something better for next year when we go into the new budget cycle. And I will vote to support this, but for 2020 we've got to have a big change. Big change. We're bleeding. We have to slow down the bleeding significantly.
So noted and agreed, Councilmember
That's my
Boff.
comment.
Yes.
I would like to interject here that last year's budget was based on information that we relied on from staff, and things changed. We have new hires that have a much higher professional level and experience and have dug in and found things and helped us as a community and as a city identify what changes we need to make to go forward in a more organized and professional manner. And yes, it's painful, but I think the changes are commendable. And I think going forward, the Budget Committee will have much more accurate information and clarity in terms of information that they ask for on any type of topic, and get that information so that they can make decisive decisions going forward, and bring that to council so council can approve budgets that are much more accurate. So it is a difficult situation to be in as a community, but on the other side of the hand, we are also perhaps one of the more fortunate communities in Washington, for that matter, with the budget that we have and the reserve funds that we currently have. Those reserve funds were there to help us get through crises and situations like this, where we have a downturn of the economic revenue that we have relied on for years. And to make a new path for the community to go forward and build that economic development and new revenues that we're going to need. So I understand council's heartburn. I have it as well, but I would also like to recognize once again the finance department for helping us work through this and providing us with much more professional level and accurate data to work with. So there's going to be tough decisions to be made, but I think we all recognize that going forward. So I will quit my speech here and open it up for at 7:29 for public comments, since this is an ordinance. So anyone that wishes to make comments on the ordinance and the information that's been provided, please step forward.
Al Philo, 152 West 15th Street. Little Center has come a long way, since the card rooms came to town, Darrell Lee and all those folks. We dumped us a lot of money. Now we are in hard times, and or as I see it, and due diligence on those who are spending our money, and that's y'all up here. I think we've done a real good job. I think staff has done a real good job in the last year, and just keep thinking, if this was my family budget, what would I be doing? And I want to thank Tom. He's done a good job standing up and saying no, and when I think he should be said no. So thank you all.
Thanks, Al.
So where I can see the table again, please. Yes, sir. John Mueller, 811 East Fur. Sorry, I've moved a few times in this town. I have a confusion here, and I may be reading your slide incorrectly, sir, but the top is the mayor's fund, total revenue adjustment, we're saying $185,553, so that's what we're asking for an increase, correct? Is that, I'm reading that correctly? I'll quickly share the mic.
Yeah, that's actually an increase in revenues by major category.
So that's what we've brought in more money?
It's a projection of increase, yes.
Okay, because then I was looking at our departments and seeing that our net expenditures went up 163,057, and I was trying to figure out how that worked with 144,000 removed and 188,000. So thank you for your time, appreciate it, and I will see you down. I just wanted to understand the slide better.
No, that's why you have this opportunity. Any others? All right. At 7:32, I will close the public comment. Any further discussion from council?
No, I agreed with what you had to say. I just want to make sure that we think ahead.
I think we all agree. Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve Ordinance 2019-13, Adopted Amendment 1 to adopted budget for the City of La Center for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019, which will be effective upon passage.
Second.
Hold on a second. We have to take a roll call vote, so Laura.
Councilmember Boff.
Yes.
Councilmember Stimmel.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Strobehn.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes. I believe.
We're done.
Yes. I'll backtrack here. And the things that I was going to say earlier, mayor's report, when I had blinded eyes, was June 27th. We have National PTSD Awareness Day. And National PTSD Awareness Day is observed annually on June 27th. This is a day to recognize the effects post-traumatic stress has on the lives of those affected by it. Post-traumatic stress disorder has a profound effect on the lives of those who suffer from it. The statistics alone are staggering, but can only tell a portion of the story. The trauma and anxiety associated with PTSD is a constant burden, inseparable from the sufferer. It was once a condition that was attributed only to returning combat veterans, but more and more the condition is diagnosed in those who have experienced violent crime or lived through catastrophic events. According to PTSD United, 20% of adults in the United States who have experienced traumatic events suffer from PTSD. I would also like to recognize Independence Day, July 4th. This is a federal holiday which commemorates the adoption of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776, declaring independence from the Kingdom of Great Britain. Political speeches and ceremonies, along with fireworks, parades, barbecues, carnivals, fairs, picnics, baseball games, class reunions, family reunions all take place across the country celebrating our independence. Along with the fireworks, there are songs associated with the 4th of July holiday, some of which include our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, God Bless America, America the Beautiful, My Country 'Tis of Thee, This Land is Your Land, Stars and Stripes Forever, God Bless the USA, Yankee Doodle, and Dixie. So happy Independence Day to all of you, and thank you for coming this evening.
I forgot about some of those songs. I don't
Yeah.
think I've heard some of those since I
I
was
know.
a kid. Yeah.
Gives you goosebumps.
Move to adjourn?
I knew it was coming. Second?
Second. But I do want to remind you I will be absent at the next meeting.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.